I wish somebody had told me this when I was younger, but looking cool and getting better at what you're pursuing rarely happen at the same time. And what's crazy is when we're pursuing something new, we have this thing that tells us we need to look like we know what we're doing, we need to look like we have all the answers, and we need to look like we've been doing this for a long time. When you start something new, you have to agree with the fact that you might look a little stupid, you might look a little foolish, you might look extremely ignorant. And when we learn to embrace that before we start something new, it gives us a lot more permission to have fun, not take ourselves too seriously, and ultimately improve a lot faster. I like to say, we'll always suck if we're afraid to suck. But if we're not afraid to suck, then we can enjoy the season that we're in, which is beginner, and be like, I might not look cool, but damn, I'm going to have a lot more fun than anybody else out there.
What's going on, my friend? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Real English Radio. I am your host, Tony Kaizen. And today we're talking about learning and looking cool. Two things that rarely happen at the same time, like Bryant said in the video clip. Now, before I give you my 2 cents on the matter, my 2 pennies, my opinion, my thoughts and perspective, we're going to go back to the beginning of this clip, as always. And I'm going to explain the nouns, the verbs, and the adjectives, just to make sure everything's clear, just to make sure we're on the same page. I don't want to lose you this early into the episode. All right, so let me go back to the beginning and explain a few things. Here we go.
I wish somebody had told me this when I was younger, but looking cool and getting better at what you're pursuing rarely happen at the same time.
Looking cool and getting better at what you're doing or what you're pursuing. Jesus, how am I fucking up this early in the episode, y'all? What the hell is going on? Looking cool and getting better at what you're pursuing rarely happen at the same time. So the word pursuing, or the verb to pursue, it just means to actively engage in or follow a particular activity or goal with dedication and with passion. So if you're pursuing a particular goal, you're trying to achieve that particular goal. You also hear people saying, go after something in particular. So I'm going after my dream. I'm going after this. I'm going after that. I'm pursuing that. I'm trying to bring it into my possession, or I'm trying to achieve that thing. That's the basic idea. So looking cool and getting better at what you are pursuing, or getting better at what you're doing, or the skill you're trying to improve, those two things rarely happen at the same time, or almost never. Not very often. It's a very rare occasion in which you look cool and you are trying to get better at whatever skill it is. In this case, speaking English, right? So I'm sure you get it, but let me just reiterate one more time. Reiterate one more time. So looking cool and improving your English, they rarely happen at the same time. That's really the main idea of this whole episode. That's what I want you to keep in your mind from now to the end of this episode. Looking cool, looking like you've got it all figured out, looking like an expert. It's very rare that that happens at the same time that you're trying to improve, or that you're trying to learn new things. All right. All right, cool. Let's continue.
I wish somebody had told me this when I was younger, but looking cool and getting better at what you're pursuing rarely happen at the same time. And what's crazy is when we're pursuing something new, we have this thing that tells us we need to look like we know what we're doing, we need to look like we have all the answers, and we need to look like we've been doing this for a long time. When you start something new, you have to agree with the fact that you might look a little stupid, you might look a little foolish, you might look extremely ignorant.
All right. So when we start something new, you have to agree with the fact, or you have to accept the fact that you might look a little stupid. You might look foolish. You might look extremely ignorant. Now, stupid and ignorant, I'm sure you know these words, but just in case you don't know, the word foolish describes somebody who doesn't really have good sense or common sense. They don't have a good sense of judgment, right? They appear that they don't know what they're doing. They appear to be silly or unwise is also what you'll hear, because fool is like, or foolish is the opposite of wise. So if a man is wise, he has good judgment, he has lots of experience, he typically knows the right thing to do. And if somebody is foolish, it's basically the exact opposite, inexperienced, on that beginner level, doesn't really know what they're doing, looking kind of silly, just not making great decisions, right? So you can be a wise man or you can be a fool. You can be wise or you can be foolish, right? So you might look foolish, you might look stupid, you might look a little bit ignorant when you're starting something new because you don't know. You don't know what you're doing. You're just trying to figure it out as you go along. So you really have to accept the fact that that is a normal experience for anyone learning anything. That's the idea. All right. All right, cool. Let's continue.
Long time. When you start something new, you have to agree with the fact that you might look a little stupid, you might look a little foolish, you might look extremely ignorant. And when we learn to embrace that before we start something new, it gives us a lot more permission to have fun, not take ourselves too seriously, and ultimately improve a lot faster.
Okay. So again, you might look a little dumb when you start something new, but if you can learn to embrace that before you start something new, it will give you permission to have fun. Okay. So to embrace something literally to embrace something is almost like hugging something, right? Imagine it's the holidays and you go to your grandma's house. You haven't seen her in like 9 months and she's just so happy to see you. And she gives you a nice warm embrace, right? A nice big hug, and she says, listen, I know you've been waiting all year for this. I'm about to prepare. What do grandmas cook during the holidays? I don't fucking know. Isn't it like a universal thing that no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, no matter what your culture is, like grandma always knows how to make the best food you've ever had in your fucking life. And they don't have recipe books. They're not getting on YouTube trying to find like interesting recipes to cook for the family. They just know. It doesn't matter what's in the house. They know how to make a delicious meal for you. You know what I'm saying? That shit is universal. But anyway, grandma gives you a nice warm embrace, a nice hug. She brings you into her arms. And it feels good, right? That's literal embracing. But in this case, he's saying it more metaphorically. So if you embrace an idea, it's more like just accepting an idea willingly and enthusiastically. You know what I mean? So if you can just accept the idea that you might look a little foolish, you might look a little ignorant, you might look a little fucking stupid, that will give you permission to have more fun, not take yourself too seriously, and ultimately improve a lot faster. So just in case you don't know, permission to have fun. The word permission is just like the approval to do something, or you are allowed to do something. So imagine you're 16, you want to go out on a Friday night, and your parents say, no, you cannot go. You've been acting up in school. You haven't been doing your chores. You've been acting like a little fucking punk. You're not going out tonight. That means you do not have permission to go out tonight. If they say yes, then you do have permission. You are allowed to go out. You see what I'm saying? So by accepting the fact or embracing the fact that you might look foolish, you give yourself permission to have fun, not take yourself too seriously, and ultimately, or in the end, improve a lot faster.
Before we start something new, it gives us a lot more permission to have fun, not take ourselves too seriously, and ultimately improve a lot faster. I like to say, we'll always suck if we're afraid to suck. But if we're not afraid to suck, then we can enjoy the season that we're in, which is beginner, and be like, I might not look cool, but damn, I'm going to have a lot more fun than anybody else out there.
All right. So he says we will always suck if we are afraid to suck. Now, he's certainly not talking about suck in the literal sense here. He's talking about it more colloquially. It's like slang. I guess you can consider it slang. So if something sucks, it just means that it's very poor in quality or performance. So in this context, he's talking about our skill level. We will always have a very low or poor skill level if we are afraid to have a low or poor skill level. But if we're not afraid, right, and we can just enjoy the season that we're in. And when he says season, he means like stage or phase of a process. So if we can just enjoy the stage that we're in, which is beginner for some people, or lower intermediate, or whatever your level is, if you can just learn to enjoy that, if you're not afraid of sucking, then you can relax a little bit and you can say, I might not look cool, I might not sound like a native, I might not be proficient yet, but goddamn, I'm going to have a lot more fun than anybody else out there. So when he says damn, it doesn't really mean, there's no literal meaning to this word in this context. It's just He's putting emphasis on what he's going to say next. So I might not look cool, but damn, I'm going to have a lot more fun than anyone else out there. He's just putting emphasis on that second half of his idea. And when he says out there, you might be asking yourself, out where? Where is there? What location is he talking about? But this is just an expression that we use to describe the world in general, society in general. So when he says out there, he means out in the world. You know, you are most likely right now in your house or on a bus, or I don't know where you are, maybe in the gym or something like that. But whatever it is, when he says out there, it means like look outward into the world, you know, and he's just referring to society at large. So I might not look cool, but I'm going to have a lot more fun than anybody else in the world, anybody else in my city or my class, anybody else in the same situation. I really hope that makes sense. All right, so let me go back to the very beginning, play it all for you, and then we'll continue.
I wish somebody had told me this when I was younger, but looking cool and getting better at what you're pursuing rarely happen at the same time. And what's crazy is when we're pursuing something new, we have this thing that tells us we need to look like we know what we're doing, we need to look like we have all the answers, and we need to look like we've been doing this for a long time. When you start something new, you have to agree with the fact that you might look a little stupid, you might look a little foolish, you might look extremely ignorant. And when we learn to embrace that before we start something new, it gives us a lot more permission to have fun, not take ourselves too seriously, and ultimately improve a lot faster. I like to say, we'll always suck if we're afraid to suck. But if we're not afraid to suck, then we can enjoy the season that we're in, which is beginner, and be like, I might not look cool, but damn, I'm going to have a lot more fun than anybody else out there.
All right, my friends, how was it the second time around? I sincerely hope it was much easier to understand. Now, I will say that this clip wasn't the most advanced clip I've played on the podcast, but I know that there are people of various levels listening, so I always like to go through and explain the stuff that is a bit more advanced, or at least give you a bit more detail on all the words and phrases, just because it helps you understand things better. It helps you speak more naturally when it is time to speak, and I hope that you are speaking on a regular basis. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know that what I've been preaching from the very fucking beginning is you have to practice, all right? Don't just listen to the podcast. Don't just play every episode and be like, God damn, this episode is the shit. This podcast is the best podcast I've ever heard. I mean, I appreciate those compliments, but that's not what I want for you, my friend. I want you to enjoy the podcast. That is true. But I want you to improve. You got to take this shit and put it into practice. And that's really what we're talking about in this whole episode, right? Learning and looking cool, and how those two things rarely happen at the same time. And really the main idea of this episode, we talked a little bit about it in episode 59, the looking glass self, because sometimes the idea that you need to look cool, or that you need to look like you've got everything figured out, you've got all the answers, you're not nervous, right? You're confident, you're in control. Sometimes that is just because of your cultural background. It's because the way you were raised and the way things are done and thought about in your country or in your family, right? In episode 59, we talked about how culture can sometimes be a form of mental prison that keeps you from developing as a person. Because if you were raised in an environment where making mistakes and looking inexperienced was frowned upon, it wasn't seen very positively, then learning new skills might be unnecessarily stressful for you because, as Bryant said in the video clip, you have to embrace or accept the fact that you will rarely look like an expert while you're trying to become an expert. Those two things almost never happen at the same time. So if you're afraid of looking like a beginner, making mistakes in front of other people, and being corrected by someone who knows more than you, then you're almost guaranteed to remain at a beginner level for much longer than necessary. And like I said before, this is the main thing that holds people back. It's not that English is super complicated or impossible to learn. It's not that there aren't resources to help you learn more effectively. And it's not that people don't live in an English-speaking country. It's the simple fact that people are deathly afraid of being seen trying. That's really what it is. And what I find even more interesting is that people tend to be much more patient with children who are learning skills. Have you ever seen someone make fun of a 6-year-old child who's learning how to tie his shoes? Have you ever seen someone get mad at a child for not knowing something he hasn't learned yet? And for those of you listening that have kids, I'm sure you found yourself getting frustrated with your children for making obvious mistakes and then immediately having to remind yourself that they're just children and it's your responsibility to teach them the things that they don't know yet. So why don't we treat adults this way? Why aren't we empathetic with ourselves? It's not like we stop learning after we pass a certain age, right? Actually, most of us do stop learning after a certain age, and it's at least partially because we've been trained to think that adults are supposed to have everything figured out. We're supposed to have all the answers, know all the skills, and project this image of perfection so that we aren't looked down on by our peers. And this is sheer fucking stupidity. This is dumb. So many of us are walking around like we've got something to prove to other people because we have a biological need for the approval of other people. And although the desire for the approval of others can be very beneficial, personally, I prefer not to let it govern all of my decisions and behavior, especially when I'm trying to learn new things and become a better version of myself. Because when you're learning a new skill, it is imperative, or it's crucial, that you embrace the idea of being vulnerable. Now, to be vulnerable, or the word vulnerable, describes the quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or emotionally. And luckily, when it comes to learning languages, it's very rare that you'll find yourself in a situation where you can be physically harmed for not speaking the language proficiently. The real risk here is the emotional damage, right? The damage that can be done to your ego. Because if you grew up in a culture where appearance is more important than substance, then you're at a serious risk of developing an overly inflated ego. You're much more likely to show off and brag about your accomplishments. You're much more likely to put other people down to make yourself feel better. You're much more likely to take criticism personally, right? Get angry or upset when your ideas or opinions are challenged. You're much more likely to refuse to admit when you're wrong, and you're much more likely to need to be in control all the time. Now, I'm not a trained psychologist, obviously, but it's my understanding that the ego is generally understood to be the part of the personality that is responsible for self-awareness, self-esteem, and self-preservation. So if your sense of self-worth is totally dependent on who you appear to be and not who you are, then you might engage in these toxic behaviors as a way of preserving your distorted perception of who you are. But the reality is, when it comes to learning a language, you have to be humble, because no matter how much you've accomplished as a language learner, you can and will lose all of your knowledge and progress if you stop practicing regularly. Showing off and trying to look cool because you speak multiple languages will only make you look like an ignorant asshole in the short and long term. You have to be supportive of other people as well, because learning a language is something that happens within a community of people. And if you're the type of person who needs to shit on other people in order to make yourself feel better, most people will not want to talk to you. And if you have no one to talk to, you're not going to make very much progress on the path to proficiency. You also have to take criticism objectively, right? Because criticism is an absolutely crucial part of the improvement of any skill. How are you going to know what you can improve if no one ever tells you, right? And how can someone tell you what you need to improve if you take every piece of criticism like a personal attack on your character? People will just stop talking to you, right? They'll stop telling you what you need to improve, which only guarantees that you'll keep making the same mistakes and remain at a much lower level than necessary, which is the exact opposite of what you want. You also have to be open to having your ideas or opinions challenged, because if you want to learn a foreign language or even improve your ability to communicate in your own, then you're going to have countless conversations with a number of different people from all walks of life. Americans, English, Australians, Mexicans, Brazilians, Spanish, Polish, Japanese, and everything in between. And even within all of those cultures, there are, at least theoretically, millions of individuals who have their own ways of thinking and seeing the world. And if you really want to increase your vocabulary and improve your ability to talk about a wide range of subjects, then you're going to have to debate a wide range of subjects with people who won't always agree with your ways of seeing things. And if you're the kind of person who is so attached to their way of thinking and seeing the world that they refuse to consider other people's perspectives, you are not going to be very fun or interesting to speak with, which means you'll end up with nobody to speak with, which means you won't have any opportunities to practice and improve. You also have to admit when you're wrong. You have to be the kind of person who can admit when they've made a mistake, who can admit when they thought they knew something and then they've been proven wrong. You have to be able to admit that because you obviously don't know everything about life or the English language. So if you truly want to learn, then you have to be open to being corrected by people who know things that you don't know. And finally, you have to let go of the need to be in control because you cannot control what other people say or what other people do. You cannot control the way other people see you or think about you or talk about you. And you will constantly find yourself in situations where you are the outsider. You are the new friend in the group or the least experienced in the group. So thinking that you can just come in and force everyone and everything to be the way you want them to be is just silly. Learning to be humble, right? Learning to humble yourself and just go with the flow is an essential part of learning effectively and coexisting with other people. So we have to let go of this idea that we're just going to look cool and look like we've got everything figured out in those beginning stages, even the intermediate stages. You have to let go of that desire to look or appear a certain way during the learning process. Okay? It's super important. You just have to enjoy the process. Enjoy the fact that today you might be a beginner or a lower intermediate speaker, but a year from now, you're going to look back and be like, God damn, look how much progress I've made. I can't believe I used to make those mistakes. Jesus Christ, listen to my accent. What the fuck? Look at how much I've learned. It's an amazing feeling, and you will never feel that if you're so afraid of going through the learning process. If you're afraid of making mistakes, sounding silly, being corrected, right? You will never experience that feeling unless you let go of the need to be perfect, until you let go of the need to seem like you're an expert. Because you're not. You're not, okay? You're just not. You got to accept that, and that's not a bad thing, bro. I'm not trying to I'm not talking shit here. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but you are not an expert. If you were, you wouldn't be listening to me talk right now, right? All of us are learning hopefully, theoretically, all of us are learning every day, okay? So first, you should just forget about titles in the first place. I'm fluent, I'm proficient, I'm beginner, I'm this or I'm that. No, I'm learning, bro. I'm learning. That's what you say. I'm learning. Fuck all those labels and appearances and this and that, bro. You're learning. That's it. That's it. All right? And it's a lifelong process. There is no destination. You got to get that shit out of your head. One day I'll be fluent. One day I'll be proficient. And then I can breathe and enjoy myself and be happy with myself. Fuck that. No, bro. Just enjoy the process. And I know it sounds corny. I know it sounds cheesy and cliche. Just enjoy the process, right? Just wake up every day and enjoy yourself because all we have is the present moment, right? Just enjoy yourself. I know that's how it sounds, but it's real shit. It's cliche for a reason, you know? Just enjoy the stages, you know? Everybody has to go through it. This is what I'm trying to say. It's not unique. What you're experiencing is not unique. All of us, including me, all of us have to go through the same fucking process. We start as beginners. We don't know what the fuck is going on. We don't understand these people. We can't read this language. We can't speak this shit. And maybe you take some courses, you get on Duolingo, you watch some YouTube videos, and then the puzzle pieces start coming together a little bit, or at least they're on the table now. You can see them in front of you, right? And then you start putting the puzzle together day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. This is not a short-term process. No matter what they tell you or try to sell you on the fucking Instagram. You know how many goddamn ads I see, even today, with people trying to sell me some bullshit English course, promising me fluency in 90 days, or promising me some secrets that I'm unaware of, as if I don't know how to learn a fucking language, as if I didn't learn my first language with zero problems. Get the fuck out of here, bro. And I'm not saying courses are useless, because courses are great, to help you achieve very specific goals. Like a course about phrasal verbs could be very useful. A course about maybe American slang, or a course about certain grammar rules to really help you improve a specific skill or your specific knowledge in a very specific area. But some secret, the secret to learning faster, the secret to learning more effectively, get the fuck out of here, bro. It's 2023. It's common knowledge. You read, write, listen, and speak every day. You talk to real people every day. You consume content in that language every day. You ask tons of questions every day. You make mistakes. You get corrected. You improve every day. That's not a fucking secret. The problem is a lot of us just don't want to put in the fucking work. Constantly looking for excuses or why we can't do something, or looking for some quick and easy solution. Most of the time we want it for fucking free. We don't want to put in any effort. We don't want to put in any time. We don't want to put in any fucking money. We just want to wake up, click a button, and boop, boop, boop. I'm fluent, Gotta let go of that shit. It's not going to happen. You gotta let go of it. And you also have to let go of your fucking ego and that desire to just appear perfect. That desire to be the best out of the group. That desire to look like you're hot shit. You gotta let go of that, bro. It doesn't serve you. It's only slowing you down, Not only is it slowing you down, but it's robbing you of the chance to have fun. Learning is supposed to be fun, It's difficult. Sometimes it breaks your brain in half and you're just like, what the fuck? Because some stuff just doesn't make sense to you. That's normal, though, but it should be fun. And there are ways to make it fun. There's interesting content that you can consume. There are language learning communities that you can join so you can talk to real people, share interesting experiences and information, and have a good time learning. But if you're always so deep in your head and, oh no, I don't want to say something because it might not be perfect. They might laugh at me. I might make a mistake. How far do you expect to get if that's what you're focused on? You have to allow yourself, give yourself permission to make mistakes, give yourself permission to have a little bit of fun, because again, what you're going through is not unique, bro. Everybody has felt that sense of insecurity. Everybody has been afraid to make mistakes. Everybody has said some shit that makes no fucking sense. Everybody has been in a situation where they're talking to a native and they're just like pretending that they understand because they don't want to leave a bad impression or look stupid. We've all done that. I have done that countless times. That's why I can sit here and tell you, bro, it doesn't help you at all. It's a waste of time. It doesn't help you. So you gotta, I hear myself saying that a lot. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. But I can't find a better way to say it. You have to overcome the fear of judgment. I cannot do that for you. And you cannot pay for something like that. You gotta do it. And you can do it. Okay? I'm not special. I've done it. And I'm not special. There's nothing special about me in that regard. Fucking timid, shy, introverted dude who didn't know how to talk to people, and I did it. So if I did it, you can do it. You can overcome the fear of judgment. You can stop allowing your fucking ego to control all of your thoughts and decisions. You can choose to not care what other people think about your current level. So if people are laughing at your accent, people are laughing at your elementary level vocabulary, who gives a shit? Who fucking cares, man? Who fucking cares? The only people that are going to be pointing fingers and laughing at you are fucking miserable pieces of shit who have to put other people down to make themselves feel better. Why the fuck would you care about the opinions of people like that? Why would you care? Just really, I don't know the answer. Only you know. Stop and ask yourself, why would you care? There's no valid reason. If you ask me, there's no valid reason, bro. Okay? You just got to remember, I might not look cool, but damn, I'm going to have a lot more fun. And more importantly, make a lot more progress than everybody else who's wasting time trying to look cool, trying to impress other people, trying to act like they know some shit when they really don't. Remember that substance will always be more important and more valuable and more useful than appearance. And by focusing on the substance, your appearance will naturally improve. By focusing on what's truly important, practicing and learning every day, eventually you'll just wake up and realize, God damn, I can actually speak English proficiently. I can understand 90, 95, 100% of what everyone is saying to me. I can make myself understood. If they put me in an English speaking country tomorrow, I would be able to survive no problems. I could make friends. I could buy food. I could get a job. I'm good. You will never know what that feels like if you're just obsessed over appearing to be at that level, appearing to be proficient and like you've got it all figured out. You'll never know what it feels like, bro. So man, go easy on yourself. Stop being so fucking hard on yourself and just allow yourself to do what we as humans do, which is make mistakes and learn lessons. That is what we do. That is what we do, okay? It's not weird. You are not the only person experiencing that. I probably said that 3 or 4 times now, but I really want to fucking pound that shit into your brain. It is not a unique experience. All of us go through it. And until you go through it, you won't get to where you want to be, which is proficiency. It's not going to happen, all right? So go easy on yourself, bro. I believe in you as I speak these words to you. You can fucking do it. Stop being so fucking hard on yourself. Stop placing so much importance on the opinions and the gossip and the criticism and the fucking insults or compliments of other people. And just do your shit, bro. Stay focused. Keep practicing. Keep grinding. Do your thing. That's the only way you're going to get to where you want to be. And you can fucking do it, bro. I believe in you. Sis, I believe in you too. I know there's the ladies listening too. Ladies, shout out to y'all. I believe in y'all too. I believe in all of y'all. You can fucking do it, man. Okay? So remember, learning and looking cool rarely happen at the same time. So stop trying to fucking look cool and just focus on learning.